The Rockpile Report.
Buffalo, New York is going to be the epicenter of every stargazing nerd's wet dream.
With Buffalo Bills season ticket holder, Drew Geter.
If there was ever a time to break out Skyline Chili, it's when the Bills are 5-2, right?
The Rockpile Report. The pettiest, hardest drinking Bills podcast.
Everybody to another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bill, season ticket holder Drew Geer. That's our producer, Chris Kruger. Joe Miller of the Overreaction Network in studio with us tonight.
Joe Miller in the comment section normally.
Joe Miller in the comment section, getting a laugh out of me over here doing my best impression of Kelsey Grammer from Cheers after he's had too many. Trying to sound smart, being intoxicated. What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
We're here talking about the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills.
You don't want to hear about my virtual career fair?
Oh, my God. A virtual career fair sounds like a nightmare.
Wait, how does that happen? How does that even...
This is what I said. Chris, why don't you educate the people on what a virtual career fair is?
Virtual work is bad enough. Now it's virtual before I go to work for you? Like, that's where we're at?
Yeah, so the State Department of Labor, they had a virtual career fair that I was like, all right, I'll go to it. And so, like, knowing this room, I'm like, all right, they said you might be on camera with potential people. I'm like,
got it.
I got better equipment than everybody attending combined.
I got it.
I set up a camera. I set up, I have a teleprompter so I could, if I could just go face to face. It was just the biggest waste of time. So
you outkicked your coverage big time.
Yeah. So I'm still looking for a job.
I'm shocked that he didn't show up. And because he sent me a text and goes, hey, this company I used to work for that fired me is going to be there and they're hiring for all these positions. He goes, there's a part of me that wants to quote unquote enter the chat. And I go, in my head, I'm like, what would be great is if Chris, with all this stuff behind him, with all of his equipment and everything, just popped in on camera to be like, hey, I just want you all to know I'm better than you.
Right.
And then left.
Yeah, I'm actually more surprised that it was a state-run virtual career day and Kathy Hochul wasn't like the one interviewing you, because she is all about them photo ops, bro. All about them photo ops.
So I guess the place I want to start this conversation before we get into the nuts and bolts and all the particulars, the game has been flexed, for those of you who aren't aware, living under a rock, to 425, and I want to know, how do we feel about this?
17 degrees in the sun is a whole lot different than 17 degrees in the dark.
Yeah. Chris, your thoughts on being flexed to 425?
I don't like it. It's like this, to me, these next 3 weeks are the equivalent to June for us as content creators.
The death month.
Because we got the Patriots twice and then the Jets. How are we going to... We got the division. These teams aren't good. How is anybody going to watch this shit right now or listen? The preview show
because
for this
we're
week,
funny.
Next,
the redeeming quality of that move was when they put the post out. The amount of Patriot fans were like, "Great, now the world gets to watch us suck."
Well, and so this is it, because after digging into the schedule quirks a little bit, one of the things I found is that not only has Josh Allen saved the Buffalo Bills season in what was supposed to be like a down year,
Yep.
He's also apparently saving the NFL schedule. When you take a look at what they chose to do here, and don't get me wrong, it's greed on the NFL's part.
For sure.
This pursuit of all their streaming relationships and how it's like, okay, well, it's bad enough we already negotiated deals with multiple networks and we make people jump through hoops.
Streaming services.
And then we added a Thursday night to a streaming only thing.
Dude.
And now all of a sudden it's Peacock, and pretty soon Sling TV is going to have one. And it's just, I mean, I'm being facetious there, I hope. But so they moved 2 Saturday games to Netflix. Or in fact, maybe it's not Netflix. Christmas Day is Netflix.
Christmas Day is Netflix.
So they moved 2 Saturday games.
Peacock.
Chris,
it's Peacock or something like that. Or
Chris, what network?
It's on Fox and NBC.
Okay, so they're actually being carried. They just moved them to Saturday night for no good reason?
They moved them to Sunday night. They moved him into the prime window Sunday night. So it's Sunday night 4:25 or 4:15. Is that what it is?
Well, no. That's the Bills. But what I'm saying is if you look at Saturday night, they've moved the two best games of the week into that window. Ravens, Steelers, Texans, Chiefs.
I thought they were playing on Saturday. They moved them forward?
Well, no.
They were TBDs. Were they TBDs?
Well, this was that thing of
possible.
We're going to schedule it. Now you've scheduled it, and at the same time, these are the two best games of the week.
Yeah, bro, you're a season ticket holder. The last 2 to 3 games of the year are always TBDs.
Understood. But again, if you take a look at the totality of the schedule and what it was supposed to be this week, you fucked up what fundamentally could have been a nice week of football by saying Saturday, we're going to put football on. And now Sunday, the traditional day when everybody sits down to watch this, you've already taken all the juice. Yeah. The steak has no sizzle.
Yeah.
And so look at this, the 1 p.m. window.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, Chris, the prime timers that you really kind of can't move. I mean, they could. Cowboys, Bucks. You're never going to move the Cowboys at a prime time because of their market size.
Eek.
Packers, Saints. Even though it's a dog of a game, you're not going to move them.
Sorry.
1 p.m. window. 5 of the 8 teams slated to play in it have losing records.
Awesome.
5 of the 8 and 2 of the 3 winners are playing each other. So you've got nothing but dogs.
Right.
But you reserve 4:25 for your best game that isn't primetime. But moving Bills Patriots, which is a really good team and a really bad team, to the 4 o'clock window is not a smart idea. Those games and 2 teams that are out of the playoffs should be reserved for 1 o'clock Sunday.
But this is the thing. The 1 o'clock window, for as crap football as it's going to be, has 3 divisional matchups. NFC East, AFC South, AFC North. So to a certain degree, they're going to get eyeballs.
Right.
Just because they're divisional games.
That's true.
So then you go to the 4 p.m. games. And you go, okay, what can I get out of this? What's my draw for 4 p.m.? You've got the Raiders and Jaguars, which is a battle of backup quarterbacks. You've got the Dolphins and the 49ers, which is just the disappointment bowl. I mean, which one of those 2 teams has had the most disappointing season? The 49ers were talked about as potential Super Bowl contenders. The Dolphins were going to win the division.
Yeah.
And now they're both going to get eliminated on the same weekend somehow.
They got Nance and Romo for that game.
Wow. They got the A crew. Holy smokes.
So that game where basically someone's getting eliminated, like mathematically eliminated from the playoffs as soon as this thing ends.
I think they're getting relegated. One of those teams is getting relegated, right?
Like the Buffalo Sabres, they should be sent down to another league. We need to invent one so we have a place to ship them. The Vikings and the Seahawks. The Seahawks weren't good before Geno Smith went out. Now that game has nothing.
But you want to see the Vikings play. I mean, it's the first, should be the first week of play. Well, I guess this past weekend was the first week of playoffs, but it's fantasy playoffs. There's people in these games you want to watch.
Sure.
Right.
But you put Josh Allen into a window and eyes follow. And so people go.
Oh, for sure.
So they're like, fine, we need something here that doesn't suck.
Right.
There's got to be one game that even if it does suck, is watchable because there's one guy who's a draw.
Meanwhile, he might be on the bench with a baseball hat mid third quarter.
Yeah. I just find it such an interesting dynamic that they chose to put us in that window. It almost felt like at the time apropos of nothing, but when you look at the schedule, I mean, I don't think that 4 p.m. window, they didn't have a choice. They already...
CBS has 3 games while Fox has 1 late game. Minnesota, Seattle.
Wow. What a time to be alive, folks. And so with that, we dig into the nuts and bolts of the game. Week 16 preview, New England Patriots at Buffalo Bills. Your time, 4:25, your place, Ralph Wilson Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. The weather, it's going to be partly sunny. Well, at least until kickoff.
It was going to be partly sunny. It's going to be partly sunny at the tailgate.
Like a high of 16 or 17 degrees.
It's going to be cold. It's a cold of 16 or 17.
And then what I love is that they say there's not going to be any wind. They're like, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Bullshit. Multiply it by 2. Every time you get closer to the stadium, double it.
That's true.
And the line has the Buffalo Bills tied for the largest spread of the week with the Green Bay Packers at -14.
So
you might almost still want to take them.
No, I mean, to me, and this is one of the things, as much as we talk about Sean McDermott being formerly a conservative coach, which he's clearly changed that mantra and that model wholly, completely this year. There are times that things have been out there to get records and things like that. And McDermott is competitive petty. And there's an aspect of the Bills going for 30 points a game for the 9th straight game that I think they beat that. I don't think the Patriots. I think the Bills cover.
Chris, what would you be comfortable wagering on Bills minus 14?
I'd 100% stay away from it.
Really?
100% stay away from it. I would have stayed away from Baltimore and the Giants last week, which was 16.5, and Baltimore covered. I'm just not interested in betting
you don't like
more than a touchdown in the NFL.
I would say you don't like seeing NCAA lines in the NFL.
No.
That's fair.
I get it, but this foot, I mean, how many? Yeah, I get it. I just feel like the Bills are going to put 30 on them, 30, 32, 35, somewhere around there. And how many points do the Patriots score on the Buffalo Bills?
How much does their defense cater? What incentive do the Bills' defense have for playing better than they have the last 2 weeks specifically the fourth quarter of the Lions game?
Or like the Rams game, how much of the money is on the Bills, right? So there's 95% of the money was on the Bills in the Rams game, and the Rams won?
Yeah. Yeah.
95%, so Vegas wins? Oh,
well,
are we not allowed to talk about that?
No.
Still a sore subject. Still a sore subject. And one of us here in studio is probably sober enough to remember our conversation about it after the fact.
That was me. I remember it. I remember it. Yeah.
Chris, that offense is probably where you want to start with the synopsis of this team this year. It's where I want to start. But I will say that as an organization, it is nice watching them look like as the New England Patriots, who we had, the Patriot way shoved down our throats for so long.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that they've immediately, and it was a slow decay throughout the downfall of Bill Belichick.
No, it wasn't. The Bills wasted them in the playoffs with a Josh Allen perfect football game, and they fell off the earth.
But then they would find ways to beat up on enough other shitty football teams to remain like a 6-win. And then you could see
2 years ago.
Sure. And so my point is, you saw it, and there was reason to believe, okay, this thing isn't just going to fall off a cliff. They've always been a strong defense, and they game plan well, and they do all these things. And it's like Bill left and took all the magic with him. And so now what they've become is something like we all like to rubberneck at accidents and disasters. It's like what would happen if a forest fire were to find a landfill in Jersey. It's like, it's not only hilarious, but it might actually kill the people who are standing too close to it. Some of the people who are living there and breathing that in every day are probably going to die from it. There's going to be a mesothelioma commercial at 10 o'clock at night on Fox being if you've been a New England Patriots fan throughout the years following the Bill Belichick era, you could be entitled to compensation.
888-8888.
It's the Nightline or whatever, that weird and it's always something new. Did you drink the water at Camp Lejeune?
Camp Lejeune, yeah.
What I'll say is this:
you might be entitled to $16 when we win.
They're the only franchise, though, in the AFC East that is exactly who everyone thought they were going to be this year.
That is very true.
If you looked around, the Bills window was supposedly closed. Mm-hmm. The Dolphins and Jets were going to contend for the 2 top spots.
Yeah.
But nobody ever thought the Patriots had a shot this year at being good.
And they did not. So we talked to Mike Giardi, who was a former NFL Network guy that covered the Bills for a long time. And then now as a Patriot, they released him, the NFL Network. He got cut in one of the big swaths. And he's now back to being a New England Patriots beat reporter. We had him on the show for On the Beat before the season started. He didn't even think Drake May would play this year.
And you thought watching them sign Jacoby Brissett, they were bringing in the sacrificial lamb,
right? Because
they knew what they had built. It literally, watching him running around out there in the field right now reminds me of shades of the 2018 Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen behind the cheapest offensive line in football, which is something we're going to talk about as it pertains to the Patriots. They intentionally built one of the cheapest and worst offensive lines in the NFL.
That's true.
And brought Nathan Peterman in to kind of be the sacrificial lamb behind it, or at least we thought.
Right.
And then one half of NFL football into that experiment, they were like, nope, get out there, Josh. And so you threw this kid to the wolves with no pass catchers, no protection, no running back talent, and expected him to do what?
Listen, I have a problem because I fully remember being told by Bills Mafia that Robert Foster could be a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL.
Do you know he almost died crashing a 4-wheeler into the side of my truck?
What?
Yeah.
How does this whatever? Please tell us this story.
I'll tell you off air. It's a fun story. But no, it is that dynamic of you're being told that all of this has the ability to be competitive, and it doesn't. You know, I was talking to you off air before we started, but one of my favorite things to do before these, anytime we got to talk about the Patriots, is I kind of catch up on them by listening to Tom Curran from NBC Boston. He has a podcast, a serialized thing that's carried by NBC. He's great, and he's funny because he's not just worked the beat for years, and now he's kind of turned the legwork over to some of the younger kids. Well, he gets to sit back and do whatever he wants, but he also gets to work as blue as he wants to. Yeah. So he can talk very matter-of-factly and not as a homer about his New England Patriots. And so I like getting his perspective. And one of the dynamics that has them playing so poorly is you look at the players who left. Mm-hmm. Trent Brown, gone. Mm-hmm. They traded Matthew Judon. They let Mac Wilson, at this point, their longest tenured linebacker, who wasn't very good, but he was at least a guy.
Raise a glass to milk.
Yeah.
Do you have milk another beer?
No, I'm grabbing a beer.
We do have an Narragansett warmer in there if you want it.
We're not subjecting Joe to that. So
who's on the can?
Bing Crosby.
There you go.
Okay, segue or not segue, but like
sidebar.
Sidebar, yeah, right turn.
You like that, Mark? I do know. I know what a sidebar.
You're
is.
actually incredibly smart. Clip
that.
I don't understand for the life of me why he whistles in White Christmas. Every time it comes on the radio, like I look at my daughters and I'm just like, why is he whistling here? Why?
Now you know what the problem is. I'm going to go back. I'm going to have a couple glasses of whiskey. I'm going to listen to that song about 8 times, and it's almost like how I ruined Running with the Devil for a friend of mine.
Don't ruin it for me.
I'm gonna. So if you try to listen to the song somewhere in the background, if all you do, try to block out the instrumentation.
Is that a mariachi song?
I hate you.
Just by your form of air guitar, you look like you're playing mariachi. I don't know,
like it's a
what kind of guitar player plays that high.
So the idea is,
I love being on a podcast with a fat Mexican. I'm just saying. So
if you block out the instrumentation and you just try to listen to David Lee Roth doing the cheesy 80s rock scream in the back. Yeah, he's just in the. And so what I'd like to picture is that there's a band in a studio trying to record the song, and David Lee Roth just won't stop doing it. And they're all getting more annoyed with him as the song is going on. They're like, stop it. For the love of God, knock it off. We're just, can you just let us be the thing?
So it's literally Will Ferrell with the cowbell, but only screaming instead of.
It's exactly
what I need here is a little more screaming.
But so with back to the Patriots it's okay with all the departures, right? That they completely self-inflicted.
Yeah, well, they had to, right? They jettisoned their whole entire team like we did. We just have Josh Allen.
They also did, and then what they did was they didn't go out and get credible replacements. Where the Buffalo Bills went out and got themselves a Mac Hollins, who, you know, we kind of laughed at it, but he's what I think they dreamed Trent Sherfield could be.
Agreed.
They went out and found Edwards, the guard.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They found a guy who can do the job at a high level who doesn't cost much.
Right.
They went out and got credible replacements for the pieces they were losing.
Well, they didn't. They hoped.
Because
let's go back to off-season conversations with Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. There was a very much, they didn't say, well, we'll see. But there was a we'll see feel.
Yes.
We'll see.
But what Tom Curran said in a show I was listening to today that made me laugh really hard was that he's talking about how right now there's not only a fracturing of the coaching staff, which we'll touch on, the Patriot way culture is dead. Mm-hmm. Like that doesn't exist anymore. And maybe it never did.
It didn't.
Maybe it was just a really good quarterback who everyone towed the line for because they wanted to be in his good graces.
Yeah.
They also have there's a fracturing of the locker room. There's a fracturing of the coaching staff. And also there's all this derision being pointed at the offensive coordinator throughout this process. But you look at the terrible job they've done building the team, and Tom Curran's phrasing was, it's not all Alex Van Pelt's fault because he's out here trying to make chicken salad with chicken shit.
Yep.
And he's 100% correct if you really look at it.
Yep.
Like let's talk about it. If tough to play against, right? Because that was going to be the goal. This is a quote from Chad Graff, another Patriots beat reporter who works at The Athletic. The Patriots knew they weren't going to be a good team this season, but they wanted to be one that improved as the year went along and hoped they'd be a tough team to play against by December. The kind that even if the record wasn't good, opponents wouldn't want to play.
Yeah.
If that was the goal, it's been a massive failure. He goes on in that article to refer to them as the NFL's slump buster. And he goes, if anybody needs a get-right game, you just call up the Patriots.
They're App State at this point.
Literally everything you do poorly can be remedied by playing a game against the New England Patriots. And he went on to detail all of these examples.
All right.
And you look at this in 5 games where they've let up over 395 yards on defense. They have 3 games against teams with winning records right now. And they only have 3 wins.
Right.
Like, they only have 3 wins. And that's embarrassing. So even against bad teams, you're bad.
So you're saying there's an opportunity for the Bills to actually score 30 points for their 9th straight game. That's what you're telling me. Yes. I like it.
They've been outscored by 33 points over the last 3 losses. And against Arizona, they had 3 points going into the 4th quarter.
Oof.
So this is...
This is a Christmas miracle.
I know. And so when you're talking about a team whose defense needs to kind of get right,
yeah,
there's no better cure for what ails you than playing the New England Patriots. And it's funny to hear it even from the coach's mouth, because the coach even seems like he's overwhelmed. This is a direct quote. Talking to Tom McCarthy from CBS Sports, during the bye week, he told them that he had all kinds of plans. He goes, I had plans for the team and how I was going to grow it and what I was going to emphasize and how I was going to matriculate the playbook. But then everything got so fast. And have you ever heard that from a coach who goes, Chris, you've played hockey.
That I have.
Now, have you ever stepped into an environment where you know that you were punching above your weight class?
Yeah.
Like, you know that you got on the rink with guys who were good enough that you probably shouldn't have been there.
So the way that they structure adult roller hockey is with usually like bronze, copper, aluminum, go on down.
Tin?
Yeah,
like
tin.
Where are we going?
Tin is the lowest.
Shards?
Tin is the lowest.
Scrap
Sometimes
metal.
you'll play copper, which is probably where I put my skill set. And there have been times just based on scheduling that they'll put like middle of the season, they'll take the best copper team and put them against the worst bronze team. And then you're going into a game where you're playing 7 guys that played at Niagara University, and then you get smoked 10-1. And
the
go,
first
thing- yes. Okay, even though they're the worst in their division and we're the best in ours, there's a clear gap of talent.
And it's that thing where you bet you the first thing that went through your head the first time it happened to you, and you got out there on the floor, you looked around and you were like, they're so fast.
No.
This all just happened so fast.
There's a moment before that, because I played competitive volleyball for a long time after high school, and like literally there's a moment where you're moving up, or at least you feel like you're moving up, and you're like, we're good. Like they recognize that we're good, and then that moment happens, and you're like, we don't belong here at all. Like, what are we doing? And that's where the Patriots are. They don't belong here.
But it's terrible to hear the coach say it. Like, hey guys, this got away from me.
This moment is very reminiscent of Wade Phillips. He's a punt catcher. He's more of a punt catcher, right? I mean, it's Chris Watson. This moment is Chris Watson.
Yeah, and
he's talking about his whole entire football team.
And now, Chris, I'm not going to point fingers, right? Because that would be mean. But there have been some people associated with this podcast who have demanded that Sean McDermott be fired. I don't want to name names, but even as a rookie coach, Sean McDermott never went to the podium and said, guys, it got away from me. It was too fast. I wasn't prepared for that.
He has had some gaffes. He had gaffes against the Rams. He has had some gaffes.
But you don't say it.
You don't say it. He's had some gaffes, though.
Well, his biggest gaffe was for his first season, Tyrod and Peterman. Yeah. That could get you to lose the locker room, the way that played out.
Yeah.
But he He fixed it.
We talked off air about. I don't know how. I think it came up over this topic. We talked about McDermott after the Rams game and the fact that he was shaky in his voice. He was clearly noticeably upset. And I didn't finish it, but literally he comes out and says, "We didn't start with any urgency. The offense went 3 and out on their, but they got helped out by a penalty." And I was like, "Wait, we're talking about the defense, and you went to the off." Like, he didn't know where he was in that post-game press conference. But you're right. To your point, you're not wrong. It got really fast. It got really fast. Like, I don't know. What would the head coach say to the quarterback that says that? The quarterback comes off the field and is like, "Hey, coach, it got really fast." Like,
yeah.
I don't know what happened, but it got really fast.
I don't happen. I thought I was really good when I was in college, and everything seems to be going to shit out here. And he was a coach. I have to look at him and go, "Don't worry, buddy. It's happening to me too." I don't even know what's on this play sheet. I'm just carrying it around.
So it's water boy.
Yes, it's the water boy.
It's water boy.
So when you take a look at them, all of their problems start with the offensive line. And I want to walk you through, because like, Chris, look at them just in terms of statistics, right? They're 29th ranked in terms of overall offense and also in third down conversions, I believe. There's a play in the Arizona game that I go to explain why. It's a microcosm of everything that's wrong with the franchise right now. It's 3rd and 1 from the Arizona 4. Mm-hmm. You're in there. You're in score. You have 3 points. You're losing 3-16, but it's late in the third. You could capitalize here. They line up single back formation and they run Antonio Gibson, who's not he's not a nobody at running back. Now, he's not a star, but he's a decent running back. They line up in single back and they run the ball directly up the middle of the field. They try to run in the A gap. The problem is the Cardinals' defensive tackle, his name's Chris something, because I always catch it because it's Khrys.
Kruger.
Chris, yeah, no. But whatever it is, he's in the backfield off the snap. Just off the snap, he's in the Patriots' backfield, which redirects the running back, ends up running into the back of his own center and tackled for no gain. So now it's 4th and 1 from the Arizona 4, and you go, okay, it's all right. It's time for tough guy football. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to line up. We're going to go power I. Yeah, we're going to bring in a fullback, and we're going to run the same A-gap. We're going to do it with Ramondre Stevenson this time.
First of all, they're the only team that has run power I this season on that play, probably. Because I don't think anybody else.
Awesome.
Nobody else runs power I
It's
anymore.
Old school. I was like, this is it. But you're getting 1 yard. First of all, at that point, just give it to the up back. Just give it to the up back.
Everybody that's played Madden always skips over fullback dive. Nobody picks fullback dive or power I up the middle. Like, that is not the play, because you know what you're getting. You're getting 1 yard.
1 yard.
1 yard.
But that's all they needed, right?
Didn't get it.
So they run it, and the offensive line actually gets pushed backwards. So the fullback crashes into the back.
All they got to do is block down, and they got pushed backwards?
They got pushed backwards. The fullback crashes into the back of them, and then like a Three Stooges gimmick, Stevenson gets stuck up right up against him, and they all kind of tumble forward trying to find that yard and don't get it. And they turn it over on downs, and then one big James Conner run later, they flip the field, and it's all she wrote. Crazy, like, turnover on downs. Arizona scores a touchdown on the ensuing drive. The game is officially, like, it's out of hand. Yeah. You're not coming back.
Right.
And Chris, if you pull up our lads for Joe here, I want you to see what their roster is made up. Look at some of these names. Scroll up so we can see the entire O-line. I'm going to go through some of their credentials here. Their starting left tackle is a guy named Vidarian Lowe, who is a 5th rounder from Minnesota in 2022.
So which one is the tackle that completely whiffed on his man?
That's Vidarian Lowe. Former 5th round pick.
This is the moment where you've got to
cut to the craft.
You've got to cut in that play, like right here, because it's an amazing play where he just goes. John Fina talks all the time about the strike. Like, as a tackle, you got to go out and you got to strike. And where most tackles miss it is they want to bring the end into them, the defensive end, and then like manipulate it. But he's like, no, you got to strike. And the guy goes out there to strike, takes like 3 steps and just whiffs.
Chris, they cut after that play. The broadcast camera cuts to the Crafts in the owner's box. And you can see them, like, just apoplectic.
I tweeted, I retweeted that thing, and I said, I don't think anybody got it because nobody liked it or replied on Twitter. But I was like, that's Doug and Marlon from 50 First Dates, where it's the whole scene of like, we're going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
And Marlon was like, are you going to go? No, Daddy, I thought you were going to do it. Like,
yeah.
Talking about.
Yep. So then they're starting left guard, a guy named Layden Robinson. He's a 4th round pick this year. Not great. You've got a rookie starting because Cole Strange has been hurt.
Cole Strange.
First
round draft pick, right?
He was one of the oddest, most long shot. That was the moment that we should have all known that Bill Belichick was probably drunk most of the time he was doing this.
The amazing thing about it is how the media was like, no, Cole Strange is going to be good. That's a solid pick there.
No,
it's
guys,
no.
If Belichick is doing it, it must be good.
It must be good. He knows something that nobody else knows.
Their center, Ben Brown, is a UDFA from 2022. Their right guard, Michael Wenwu, 2020 6th round draft pick, and he's currently the only Patriots offensive lineman playing on a second contract.
This is full on rebuild.
Right tackle DeMontre Jacobs was a UDFA.
I don't know any of these names.
No, nor should you, because no one.
Wait. I know Cole Strange, who was slated in the second string.
The only reason DeMontre Jacobs is starting at right tackle is because I always want to say Sidney Sow is his name.
Never heard of him.
He was a 4th round pick last year.
Never heard of her.
And he regressed so badly that he's now been benched. Here's the problem with this team. What they did with their offensive line, when the Buffalo Bills in 2018 needed to rebuild, we went out and got these journeymen who at least had NFL experience and said, okay, we're going to pay you $1 million to stand back here. I mean, we had guys like, oh my God, Chris, go up, Google Bills Our Lads. In fact, I could probably do it faster, but just so Joe can see it. Bills Our Lads. And then when you get there, drag the thing down on the side. It's going to say archive dates. And I want you to go back.
Well, we had a rookie starting that year too. I think it was John Miller, was it not?
John Miller, but I want you to go scroll down.
Eric Wood was here.
All the way down to October of 2018. Go up. There we go. So this is early enough. Okay, so this was the line.
Vlad Dukas.
Russell Bodine. Like Jordan Mills.
Wait. Every time I would ever tweet Vlad Dukas, I would write DUCA or DUC capital ASS and the little E.
That's actually pretty funny. And but you look at what they were made up of.
John Miller,
Ike Bucker, Ryan Groy.
Dude, the best part about this list is we thought Jordan Mills was good.
I know. Like, what a world we used to live
Bills
in.
Mafia thought Jordan Mills was a good football player.
But so my point
and he had some backup Wyatt Teller.
Even in doing one of the...
he wasn't. Oh, he wasn't.
Even right in there. Making the cheapest, most ineffective offensive line in the entire NFL, you at least went and got guys who had experience doing it.
Listen, there are some lunch pail guys on there.
Yes, guys who will show up and they'll do the gig.
on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and on Sunday, suck ass.
But suck is all relative, right? Because but what you're talking about is at least they know the game of football.
Maybe.
What the Patriots did is almost more unforgivable when you think about the fact that they're starting the rookie. You put guys on your offensive line as starters who 32 other GMs took a look at and said, no, you're not good enough for me to waste a pick on.
Scroll back. Scroll back up. What's interesting is that Connor McDermott is on this football team. Ike Butker is on this football team. Wyatt Teller is on this football team. It's like, who is evaluating Tuesday through Friday on this football team?
Yeah, it's not in retrospect. Hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Yeah.
And this one's rough.
Because there's a great deal of like, no, those guys can play. Like, but it gets back to the Brian Winters conversation, which if you guys remember, he would cave in the right side of the offensive line every single weekend. And McDermott was like, no, he like prepares the way we want him to prepare. And he's a great guy and he does what we ask him to do. It was like, if he can't play on Sunday.
Basically what he was saying is, we have to keep paying him until the end of the year.
They cut him. They cut that guy.
He's like, I understand that you're all pissed off and so am I, but I'm just not going to say it while I'm standing here in front of you all.
Ray McLeod is on this football team.
So I guess my point is, it's hard to build an offense when you're dealing with a line that most of them don't belong as starters in the NFL.
That's true.
Everything you do starts in the trenches. And the problem is they don't have trenches. They just don't.
Right.
And so then you got to look at Alex Van Pelt. And he's the guy who's directly impacted by the fallout of this. Now, how do you feel about him as a former Bills quarterback?
I mean, obviously, I'm old enough to remember watching him play and being excited when he finally got to start. There was high hopes for him, as there was for a lot of those quarterbacks in the drought era. Alex is a smart dude. I don't think anybody would argue that. He just, I met Alex Van Pelt and his family at the McDonald's at Five Corners, Orchard Park Road, Union. Like we walked in like Beth and I walked in and I'm like, holy shit, Alex Van Pelt. So I got to talk to him for a couple minutes. I always liked him. Clearly, he was a third string quarterback for a reason. There was a lot of hope when he was the OC here for a while. There was a lot of we are a weird fan base, and we love our own. We talked about it. Spence and I talked about Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, nobody wanted him when he came to Buffalo. We didn't want him, and then like he became Fitzmagic, right? We gave him a $64 million contract, and then he turned into Fitztragic. We ran him out of town and like made fun of him on the Dolphins and the Jets, and then he takes his shirt off at a playoff game, and all of a sudden it's like Ryan Fitzpatrick, like he's forever a Bill. Alex Van Pelt is forever a Bill.
He also gained a lot of weight. You can't deny that.
To be fair, so have you since we started this podcast. That smile is all I need.
It might be dip. I think it's being offset by the dip. I think the amount of chewing tobacco. Look at the chewing tobacco in his picture.
Oh yeah, he's got a whole lip. He's got a lipper in, dude. That's awesome. Nothing's better than as like a young kid being involved in football and just getting yelled at by some adult in the middle of the summer when it's hot out and he's got a giant lipper in.
Yeah, let's just be honest. I'm 3 years younger than him, and I look a lot better than he does. But anyway, sorry.
So I
don't know that I answered that question properly about what I think about Alex Van Pelt.
When you look at because this is it. You think he's a smart guy. Most people do. It's why he's been given the opportunities he has been. Their wide receiver room is pretty bereft of talent. They're starting rookies. Chris, look at this is what you did. You have a Kendrick Bourne. You have a Kayshon Boutte, who, I mean, he was a 6th-round pick last year. Demario Douglas, who was supposed to be the savior, who was also a 6th-round pick last year. You can only get by. They took the same logic they built the offensive line with and injected it into their wide receiver room. Javon Baker and Jalen Polk are both rookies from this draft class. And one of the problems I think you have is that Jalen Polk has been somewhat useful, and Javon Baker was a player that Bills fans pined over.
Not this one.
And a lot of guys really didn't like. He was sort of polarizing, but I think the haves, the wants versus the do not wants kind of carried play for the most part of draft season.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at a guy who, with that mess in front of him, couldn't get on the field for the first month and a half, 2 months of football.
Yeah.
He might just not be very good. I mean, they cut Tyquan Thornton. Remember what a great 2nd-round pick he was? Another one of those great Belichick wide receiver cornerback picks.
Yep.
But I guess my point is he doesn't have anything to work with. And then you decided that, hey, the future of our franchise, let's put him on the field. So again, going back to this Arizona game and how you can find things. The offensive line is embarrassing itself. Your wide receivers can't get open, and when your quarterback does hit them, they tragically just literally almost like how you would rock a baby. You shovel the ball into the hands of a defender. In the first half, that pass rush in the O-line, the average depth of target for the Patriots passing game through the first 30 minutes of that game last Sunday was behind the line of scrimmage.
All right.
I've never seen anything like it, but it happened. And then there's this other statistic where they went 0 for 6 on 3rd down. I'm not even mad at you for not completing a 3rd down. How is it that you as a team only got 6 cracks at 3rd down? Does that mean you only had 6 possessions?
Ooh.
In which case, you suck. You're fucking terrible. You don't belong in the NFL.
We've established that much.
But that's what I'm talking about. And so the flip side of that is that they have a defense that just can't get anyone off the field.
Right.
And so I think what they thought they would be is an extension of what Belichick used to be here. I think they thought that Gerard Mayo was going to take over and that he could bring in or retain some of the game planning.
But none of that even makes sense.
And no, it doesn't.
Because when they hired Gerard Mayo, there was no interview process. And I was like, wait, they're just going to give that guy the job? Mike Vrabel's out there. There's quality head coaches that are pining for jobs. And you're just like, no. You're my boy, Blue. Go get him.
That's like if my company decided to let go of the CFO and then they came to me and they were like, you know what, Drew, we kind of like the cut of your jib.
Right.
Do you want to sit in the big chair? And it's like, I mean, I will, but I don't have a CPA license. Like, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it.
It's almost like the owner got rolled by Bill Belichick for 20 years and wanted somebody that he could just roll on as much as he wanted to, right?
I guess, and he found it. Because, I mean, that guy thinks the game is moving too fast. He sure as hell isn't going to argue with Robert Kraft.
Yeah, I don't know where you want to bring it up, but literally what we're talking about right now is why I tweeted what I tweeted when they hired Gerard Mayo. Like, there was a tweet that went out, like, the Patriots have started a new era in their franchise, and they've hired Gerard Mayo.
Chris, if you could, Chris will have it on this. For those of you watching on YouTube, it'll be on the screen here for you. Joe and his level of snark. For those of you audio only,
sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't. But
it is literally him just taking Schefter's tweet.
The words and everything, I just changed a couple words.
2 years from today, it's another new era in New England as the Patriots have fired Gerard Mayo as their head coach. The search for the second successor to Bill Belichick will formally begin at a press conference next week, a source tells ESPN. And it is funny.
People were mad at me about that tweet.
Of course they are. And that's hilarious. Like, you've got this team that has a defense full of players, Chris, with no, like, up. Chris, these guys aren't morons.
Joe, I did that with... but I did it on Facebook when no one saw it.
You shouldn't tell this. You should not tell this story.
But I did it in the way of Doug Marrone. Oh, we hired Doug Marrone? He'll be fired in 3 years.
Right.
I was wrong. It was 2.
And he quit. He wasn't fired.
Yeah.
You can't fire me. I quit.
I remember where I was. Wasn't it New Year's Eve?
It was New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
It was New Year's Eve, and I was literally on my way to a bar with my ex-girlfriend, who I was already like, when you talk about boats being on the rocks, this thing wasn't on the rocks. It was already sinking, burning down to the timbers. And I'm like, fuck, we're gonna go to the bar for New Year's. Why? Because I want to be around other people besides you. I want a room full of people who aren't you to associate with while I'm here. And then I look at my phone and a text from my dad. Holy shit, Marrone quit on us.
Yep.
And I go, pile it on. What else do you got? Let's get it all out now before the year ends. Let's start with a clean slate, baby.
It was New Year's Eve. I'm in Columbus, Ohio at the table, and like we're playing cards with a couple friend of ours. We're spending New Year's Eve together, which I think we did several years. They were like our best friends. And sure enough, my phone lights up and it says Doug or not quits. And I was like, holy shit. And they were like, what? I'm like, Doug Marrone just quit. This is a great night. Let's party.
You as a coach just quit? I'm like, whatever. Eat at Arby's. Nothing matters. We'll all die here.
And he quit to become the offensive line coach for the Jaguars.
I still to this day believe that he was told, or at least had reason to believe, he was going to be the shoe-in for the Jets job. And then when he didn't.
Oh, no, that's true.
And when he didn't get it, he had to scramble. And then it was, okay, well, who's the biggest sucker?
Who's going to get fired soon?
And it's Gus Bradley.
Gus Bradley, that's right.
And so then he weasels into offensive line coach with the caveat that he's assistant head coach.
And there's no way that he's not texting the owner saying Gus Bradley really sucks.
Yeah, he's like, or going into meetings being like, man, I could do a lot of things here. It's just tough with Gus around. I mean, he's the coach, though.
Gus is the problem.
Gus is the coach, though. But hey,
I'm not trying to get out of line or anything.
I've got a lot of ideas, but you know. But so to put this back into a Patriots perspective, their defense, they're not terrible players. They're not awful in terms of what their scheme is. The problem is that they're guys with no hope. Every single time they walk into a game, they have no hope.
We've been there.
And you've watched them play really hard at the beginning of the season.
We've been there.
They held the Cincinnati Bengals and they shockingly beat them. They played overtime games with the Seattle Seahawks, and I could go down the list, but they played some close games over the...
Well, it's the NFL. There's parity.
But they're always a day late and a dollar short. And what you've seen over the last month has been a sagging. Mm. And some of that is, I think, the weight of all this other ineptitude. And it's human nature, right? You're going to prep. You're a professional, you know. Your co-hosts always talk about, if you shouldn't have to get up for a game in the NFL if you're an NFL player. You know, Fina and Ostrowski are always telling you, like, you should just have it. Otherwise, you shouldn't be out here.
Meanwhile, Ed Oliver. Anyway, moving on.
But you get out there and you start playing the game, and, you know, the offense goes 3 and out their first 3 possessions, and you go, fuck. All right, let's just can I just go home? Like, at what point do I no longer have to associate with this?
Right.
And that's where their defense is, and which has made them sloppy. And so now what you're watching is a mistake and penalty prone defense. Like a perfect example of that from last Sunday's game. They have Arizona has the ball on their own, 18-yard line. They throw an interception. Now it's a questionable, you can talk about whether forcible contact to the head of a quarterback, even if he's outside the pocket, should it still count? But either way, he throws a pick, and they're like, oh my God, this could set us up right on the doorstep to score and maybe make this a game.
You're talking about Kyler Murray, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He throws the pick.
I mean, forcible, like you don't have to do much to hit Kyler Murray in the head.
You remember that game week 1 against the Buffalo Bills where it wasn't roughing the passer, but we got flagged for it anyway.
Yes.
Anthony Jennings trying to make a play and swat the ball down ends up hitting him in the helmet and getting flagged for 15 yards, and it takes the pick away.
Of course.
And then they ask him afterwards, and he defends himself. But ultimately, if you were paying attention and you were really in the moment, you know better. You know you're going to get flagged for that because you're not a rookie. You've been in the NFL for a while. But you just don't care anymore because you're just out here trying to survive. You're just trying to survive this thing.
Plays on film for next year. Right?
Exactly.
Playing for tape.
And so anything they do and have done doesn't matter. It's all wasted because of the offense.
Yeah, for sure.
And so with that said, Chris, this almost feels like I don't know. Like it almost feels like if I were to go up, like your puppy, your new puppy, how much does your puppy weigh?
He's actually going to the vet tomorrow, but I believe he weighs 6 pounds.
Okay. So the concept, at least in theory, now we know it's the NFL. We know these are all professionals, allegedly. But I feel like this game, in terms of coaching, like if you go apples to apples down the stretch of quarterback to quarterback, coach to coach, offensive line to offensive line, defensive line to defensive line, linebackers to linebackers, what you find is that this is a lot more akin to me going upstairs and picking up his 6-pound puppy and just spinning around in a circle than it is a football game against someone who can push back.
I thought you were going to go Jack Black and Anchorman.
Kick it off the bridge. Never. I would never do that.
That's funny.
And so with that said, Chris, I've only got a couple keys to victory this week.
Wow, that's a lot of keys.
Don't
Bigger the keychain, more powerful the man.
Don't suck.
First of all, win the A and B gap on the defensive line.
Oh, there we go.
You're going to have a rookie quarterback, and I'll tell you what, we know those tackles suck. Mm-hmm. We've gotten to watch it with our own 2 eyes to hilarious effect. But he's a mobile quarterback. He's a young kid. He's got some, and I'll tell you what.
He's the next Josh Allen, I was told.
He's got some chutzpah. He may not be great, but what he does have is he's got balls enough to stand there and take hits.
Yeah.
And so he's after a couple weeks of just watching his tackles fail him. I wouldn't be shocked if he starts just, hey, if you're not going to call design quarterback runs, I'm just going to start trying to get out, start moving in the pocket a little bit.
Self-preservation at some point, right?
Do you know how you end that real quick, too? Is you just get real strong on him up the middle.
Yeah.
And now he has no choice but to roll out directly into whatever hell his tackles are causing on either side of the line. So it's going to be up to those D tackles to be like, look, guys, you're going up against a UDFA center and a couple guards that nobody wants.
Yeah.
Can you please make it look like it?
Yeah.
Let's do that, please. Because they also really struggle to run the ball in that area of the field, but yet seem hell-bent on trying to do it.
Which is bizarre because Ramondre Stevenson is a good running back and has been in the league, and the Patriots have always been good at running the football. Now, obviously, those offensive linemen.
This is my point.
Yeah.
Win the line of scrimmage, but specifically those gaps.
Yeah.
And then just show up. Show up mentally.
Don't suck.
Don't overlook them. Don't half-ass practice this week because you're like, oh, it's just the Patriots. Do they have the weapons or the talent or the coaching to come in here and play spoiler? Probably not. But at the same time, you have something to aspire to.
What does the complexity of this game look like if the Chiefs lose on Saturday?
Well, that's my point. Like, you want to go out there and you should be entering this game with the mentality that the Chiefs will lose on Sunday.
No, they play Saturday. Right. They've lost.
When they lose on Saturday.
Right.
But that's how you should be preparing for it.
Well, regardless, they should anyway, because even if the Chiefs win on Saturday, they still need to win. The Bills need to win that football game.
Yep.
Right.
So go out there, just 1 week at a time, handle your business.
Yeah.
All right. Because you're playing a bunch of teams for the next half a month that are already making vacation plans. They don't care about this. And you need to go out there and show them why they should quit sooner than that. Chris, I want the other team to quit. I want to see the quit in them by the fourth quarter.
We know that it's week 18. This is our 17th game on the schedule, but we forfeit. Don't come to New England. We won't be here.
Okay, so there's been 2 examples of it recently. Devondre Campbell and was that his name? Devondre Campbell, the linebacker who didn't go out on the field.
For the Niners that left, that walked out, yeah.
Deontay Johnson, the wide receiver that was going to, hey, all the Ravens fans who are beating their chests going, look, we got another stud receiver.
Right.
We're going to make it. I want to see players on the New England sideline by the fourth quarter are struggling to make the same business decision those 2 guys did when their team goes, hey, we're getting drilled out here. Go into the game. And they're like, nah, we're not going.
I'm good.
No, I'll stay here. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm good. No, thanks.
I want you guys to show up with that mentality. You do that, you'll carry play all day. Josh Allen will be sipping a pina colada on the sideline. And his flow will be out. He'll be high-fiving players he doesn't normally talk to. And although I'm sure he does talk. He'll be talking to Reed, sitting there shooting the shit with him because it's so boring.
I'm guessing it's going to be a hottie toddy, not a pina colada because it's going to be so cold. But
and I want to see that. Do that for me, Bills. Can you?
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know whether it's going to be fun. It'll be a day. Come see us over at Dock Slot 4180 Abbott Road. We will be there. I don't know if Joe hasn't told me if he's coming yet. Joe Green from Big Bear Barbecue.
He's got a reason to strut. Like, I don't know if you saw, but
I know. We were texting him at the night it happened.
Yeah, 2 golden tickets, right? For whatever.
SCA. Yeah, down in Fort Worth, Texas.
Which is a big deal. He's super excited. The dude can cook.
Congratulations to him. And guys, we're going to have a spread. We'll have heat. We'll have all the usual accoutrement.
We'll have old fashions. I guess a key to victory for us.
Fine, I'll come.
Yeah. We'll have old fashions, but a key for us, for you, it's a 4:25 kickoff. Drink your water. Make it to the game. Don't get drunk. We'll have plenty of water, old fashions. I'm gonna have to go back to the liquor store and.
You're getting soft on us, Chris. I thought this was like the drunkenest. What's the tagline?
Hey, the hardest drinking Pettiest Bills podcast. Well, I'll tell you what. If they go back and watch our recap show from last week, I think I nailed it, guys. This has been a lot of fun, but we got to get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. That's Joe Miller. Joe, where can everybody find your work and follow you on social?
Good Lord. On social media, Joe Miller Wired on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And then if you search anything Overreaction Buff or Overreaction Buffalo, it'll come up. Yeah. Me, John, and Jerry. Jerry Strosky, John Fina. Yeah.
And this has been your Rock Pile Report.